All right, everyone, going to test the sound here just to get started. And that's working, and then let's just do that. And if that moves over the way it should, naphead, then we are good to go. Awesome. Everything's looking good, checking. Okay. So again, if anyone is new here, essentially what we do is we take the next hour or so and we take a look at crypto stocks, the overall stock market, scan for some names that we think are going to be interesting going forward. Try to figure out what's going to happen next week, essentially. Hey, David. As always, I do this as a live stream as opposed to recording, which if you're new to the channel, lots of recordings, video, educational content, my thought on stocks and market past. So feel free to check that out. But the reason I do this live is because I want to make it interactive. So I've got this little button that I can share what's in the chat there. So make sure you go ahead and do that. Let's chat as we go. So not to miss any time or waste any time. Oh, 1 second here. I'm going to move this over here a bit. There, that's better. Just making sure everything's sized up here. I think it's actually better if I make my sidebar. My apologies. I'll do a wide one. Boom. All right, perfect. So let's actually start before we get into this with Bitcoin, as I normally do, but I actually have some stuff to talk about on the more on the equity side of things, as opposed to just looking at the market. I've got some ideas. I don't know if you guys have been around and heard all about the scary death cross that's coming on the SPY, but of course I have my own statistically minded thoughts on that, so we'll get to that in a second. Take off these indicators here. So really nothing has changed in Bitcoin over the last week, right? Since we spoke last, nothing is different. I see some likes coming through there, and I appreciate that. And every like helps the algorithm, promote my stuff. So I appreciate that. And how's it going? So yeah, so Bitcoin is still, this is what I was talking about last week. We were still in this kind of bear flag. I think we were actually a little bit higher, maybe up more in this area right here, but really nothing's changed there. So I'm still looking at crypto the same way. We've got this bear flag going on after this pretty substantial down move from here, and we've just kind of been chopping around ever since. So if this pushes lower, I've got some orders in place to get me short. Next logical place to look for any kind of a bounce would be that 30,000. If we can get and hold now, over this kind of 45,000, I was saying 41,000 for the longest time, but it seems like 45,000 is important as well. Then that's when I'll be kind of more convinced to push to the long side. But until then, I don't see any reason to be long Bitcoin as long as this kind of remains the way it is. As always, I just want to show you guys. So what I'm doing here, if you're a Stats Edge Pro member, is this is what the Pro service is. I do this watch list and my thoughts on the market each and every night. So you'll see me taking a lot of screenshots, and that's why this is what the one for Friday would look like. Again, this is less than $2 a day. So if you're interested, link is in the description below. But yeah, it's my thoughts on a bunch of different stocks and cryptocurrencies and the overall market. So that's why you'll see me just taking screenshots a lot. I always like to make that evident. Yeah, so Bitcoin, right? You've got to be cautious as long as this bear flag, and as long as we are another little zone here. as long as we're struggling in this area, this 45,000 area, I just don't see any reason to kind of swing for the fences on this one. Take your time. You can trade a lot of exchanges. I'm not too sure about your exact exchanges, but a lot of exchanges you can play both sides. You can play long and short. So, take a look at that. I've been one that I've been encouraging people for a very long time to open a crypto account, even because a lot of them you can fund with like $100. You don't have to go wild on these things. You can just fund it with $100, and if it works, then great, and if not, you've lost your $100. Who cares? There are some names that are looking interesting. This LRC is one. I just took a snap there of Engen Coin, ENG. A lot of these names that aren't really participating that much with the sell-off. This is one of my favorite technical patterns. If you can find it, is just a clear level of support. And then you can see this declining trend line into that clear level of support. I don't know the probability of what these work out to be, but I know the risk reward is absolutely substantial. So if you buy it on a break of that trend line and you put your stop under that and it gets back to high, that's a 25-to-1 risk reward. If you're right very infrequently, you can make a lot of money with a 25-to-1 risk reward. Which is why any longtime follower of me will know I don't care about win rate, and I think people who focus on win rate are kind of doing it wrong. Because just look at that. Mongo in Canada, good. I don't know. I use Kraken myself. I no real reason for that other than I've just used it since like 2018. So I'm going to continue to kind of use what works unless something comes down that's super cheap. I don't know anything about that Mongo. I know Wealthsimple in Canada, which is kind of our Robinhood competitor, has some crypto as well. I don't think you can short on that. You basically need to find something that has margin capabilities in order for you to short. So Kraken, for example, it is very much dependent on the coin. There's some coins you can't short at all. There's, some coins you can't trade on margin at all. But the big ones, the most liquid ones, you certainly can. Nope, not yet. I'm going to go over the Death Cross chat when it comes to equities after I am done crypto and FX. So we'll chat about that in a second. I'm just going through, basically every day I go through all of the coins and I just sort this list by what's up on the day. And as soon as we get to flat is when I stop looking, because it's one of those that as long as you do it every day, then you're really not going to miss anything. So that is crypto. So long and short of it is that, I can just do this to bring in that. Just bring in this to go over the screenshots that I took. Right, so Bitcoin's looking like a bear flag, and these are some names that are actually holding up pretty well. LRC, Mana, and Engen Coin all have interesting patterns, but when it comes to crypto as a whole, I don't really feel the need to swing for the fences too much, while Bitcoin is still having that problem. UUP, I've been sharing this chart. The Stats Edge guys will tell you forever, of just this big rounded cup and handle type looking pattern. And on Friday anyway, we continued. It'll be interesting to see what we open up at, but the dollar has been an absolute monster. So if it continues, then that's going to curb a lot of my Forex trading that I'm going to go through here. This Aussie yen, I've been in for a long time. It struggles a little bit at these highs. I basically got in when we broke out of this wedge pattern here. Just clean up these lines a little bit. I'm still in. It's bouncing off this resistance. So if we pull back much lower, then I'll exit the position and then look for another re-entry. But overall strong in Aussie yen. Right? It's been holding this kind of 2-year base here. Looks like it's trying to break out of that now. Go through a handful. This, I'm short the euro. Everything's been kind of in a straight line, so it hasn't really gotten much of a chance to do anything. So I don't think there'll be anything to add. This yen USD, I actually bought some the other day. That's working as well. So I'm basically kind of double short the yen on these different trades. So with Aussie yen and US dollar yen, I'm kind of short those on both sides. So seems to be working. You know, as the dollar continues to be strong, that's just something that I think will continue. So if you're crypto trading, that's the main thing I think you should watch is just I always like the UUP, or if you're looking at futures, it's the DXY. I don't think there's futures on. I can go to this. DXY, I think, is the same from the future side of things. No? Yeah, DXY, US dollar index. This is the futures version of the same thing that I just showed on the other chart, was just how strong this kind of cup and handle has been here. Now, let's get into the SPY, and we're going to start with looking at this death cross that you hear everybody talk about. It's just, I'm going to remove these for now and remove that for now. And we'll just look at this right here. And this is one of those things that if you fall for, you know, the financial media complex, hopefully today I can convince you to avoid that. So the other thing we're doing is we're going to edit these out as videos. So I'm actually going to take a quick note for Jess, who's going to edit these out later, and say we started talking about 13 min in death cross. Trying to milk as much content as I can, right? Why not? So the death cross is something you'll hear a lot about in the financial media, where they talk about how when the 50-day moving averages cross under the 200-day moving average, it's this horrible event in which, you know, the end of the world is coming and nothing will ever recover. Right? That's kind of the long and short of what you would see here. So the first thing I think that people have to do is understand that financial news is no different from any other news. You know, they make money off scaring you, right? It's just the way it works. So you should always then verify anything these things told you, because again, any follower of me for any length of time will tell you that I just don't believe in a lot of this stuff, because if there was something like this that was very consistently bearish for the market, that would get arbitraged away. It's just how the market works. So let's just eyeball it before I go into some of the statistics that I did. I keep clicking the wrong one. We'll click this one, this highlight box. So the death cross occurred on this one right in this area on the SPY. So this is the last death cross we've had, and you can see what an awful short that would be. You know, that's the exact moment that you should not be getting out of the market if you look at what happened immediately after, right? Just a massive move after this death cross, right? And I just want to show how easy this. I'm going to show you a bunch of cool stats that I did, but you don't even really need that, right? You just need to go and be skeptical of everything that you see. So this one, you actually would have gotten a little bit of a down move off of. But fast forward a couple days or a couple weeks, and you're back up at highs. So shorting it here this time, yeah, you would have gotten probably the move from here to here. So that's a little bit interesting. Let's continue to go back, and let's see. We had two of them here. One would have happened right here, nearly at the low of this move. The other thing to keep in mind when you're looking at moving averages is they don't officially cross until later, until the end of the candle to the next one. So you can't just draw it when you see it. And I think that's the reason that people get super confused with moving averages. Is it looks, if you look back, it looks like these crosses are significant. But if you actually say, okay, it wouldn't be here that it would have crossed. It would have been the next candle over because of how lagging they are. So that was a bad one. So this one was nearly the low of the move. That one was nearly the low of the move. So now we're back in 2015. So we're getting to the point where we may have done nearly 10 years worth of data already. So I think you guys have already kind of figured out my conclusion here. So now this one happened in 2011. So now we're over 10 years worth of data on this death cross. And this one would have happened right here, which was near the low of this move as well. Right, so now let's go. So here are the statistics that I did. I'm going to do a blog post on statsedgetrading.com later today, or probably tomorrow, actually. So please come check that out. I'll send out an email to my email list, which you can sign up for at the site as well. Let's just make that big. So I have, since 2010, there were 6 instances of the evil death cross. So I basically took what was the price on the candle close that the death cross occurred, and then what happened 1 month later or 6 months later. So 1 month later, 2/3 of the time, you got a 3% gain. 1 year later, 100% of the time, you got a gain of an average of 24%. So in 0 instances was the death cross the signal to short for over a year. And that's kind of the point that I want to go through, is every time you see someone say, this is a bad thing, or this is a seasonal indicator, or this is a death cross, and this is a golden cross, and these are things you should focus on, what actually occurs in that, right? So follow the data, not the hype. I'm not saying you buy because of the death cross or anything like that. I'm saying this is something that should be ignored along with, fundamental data, along with a lot of other things in the market that you should completely and utterly just knock out of your brain and spend the time following your plan. So if you're going to be interested in this blog post that I'm going to write up, which is just a lot of what I talked about right now, it will be up over the next few days. Link in the description below, and that will get you there. So that's my death cross talk. Does anyone have any disagreement with it? Did anyone actually do this beforehand? Has anyone actually checked to see what happened? Has anyone even heard of this? Am I just bringing this up because I got triggered because I heard about it too much and it's just me? To be honest, when I was running the statistics, it happened exactly the way I expected it. I expected it to be a silly way in order to try to trade the markets. So I was not shocked when I ran the statistics and found out that 100% of the time you were up in the next year, right? I've heard of it before, never looked into it. Oh, hadn't even heard of it. Oh, so you're doing a good job of ignoring the news. But this is something that is, again, if you CNBC and all these financial media places and Barings and all these things, they talk about it all the time. Like this is the evil harbinger of markets are going to tank. So I found, and it's the same with the golden cross, which is the other way around, the 50 period crossing the 200. it's the same thing where it's not a significant indicator. There is no significant indicator. Just not how it works, which is why we do this math every day. That's right. Ignore all that stuff. Focus on what the trend is. So that's just because in the next few days, and you may not have heard about it because it technically hasn't happened yet, but the way moving averages work, unless we gap up tomorrow and just start running, it will occur again. Even if we just hang out in this area, it will occur again. So when it comes to the market, just while we're on the SPY here, again, this 20,000 or 420 area on the SPY is really all I care about. We gap under it, we push up, we gap under it, we push up. So there's a huge fight going on here. And the thing is, when fights finish, right, so when this resolves, the next move will be strong. And that's kind of what I believe is going to be happening here, where whatever is going to happen next is going to be a pretty substantial move. Because when you have the market, and this is why I like dojis quite a bit as a candlestick, just making sure I can push everything out here, which is why as a candlestick, I really like to look at these different dojis, is because, there we go, the indecision generally leads to kind of massive decision. So once we get a move like we saw here, where we get this choppiness and this battle within this area, as soon as this resolves one way or the other, it's going to be pretty substantial, right? It's like, think of it as almost a coiling of pressure, right? Like a pressure cooker. The more time a battle occurs in a certain area, that when that releases one way or the other, the move that you're going to get off of that is pretty significant. So I would really, really pay attention to this going forward. But until then, there's really nothing to do, and it's not something I'm going to react to in a big way, one way or the other, just simply because it's broken a few times. So I need to wait. I want to see a few candles close above and below it before I'm really interested. Wheat is actually getting interesting. So I had the note, and I think I put the note in here about commodities exploding in wheat, and this happened. But this pullback is actually kind of interesting to me, where it's a nice, slow, and orderly pullback. Where's the VWAP from the kind of recent lows here? Okay, if we get above that, that might be interesting. So like 1050 on the wheat index. Yeah, get out of here. Correcting my spelling. Right, nice, strong, simple, clean pullback on this. And it's the same with a lot of these commodities. I'll show you guys in a second here. It's a lot of these commodities, they kind of looked like blow off tops a few days ago, and they in a sense most likely were. But just because it's a blow off top doesn't mean it's going to continue to be a blow off top. It could just be an orderly pullback, and that's one of those things with technical analysis and trading, is you have to adjust your ideas quite frequently, because what looks crazy one day might not be the other. This Moo agriculture ETF is still struggling up here, but it's something I'm going to keep an eye on. It's got this megaphone type pattern, which is typically a topping pattern. So I'm not too interested in that. Solar is something I'm starting to get interested in. for my time frame, which is, a week or so hold, it's starting to uptrend a bit after this bear trap. So it had this bear trap, which, if you don't know, bear trap's just a break of support that gets reversed pretty hard, right? So they look for an area, the market, and looks for an area where there's probably a lot of stops, and those stops get triggered. They use that to buy from there. If you get that, then that's going to be a bear trap. If you don't, then, it's just going down. So if you see within the next, couple weeks, it reclaim that area and then hold, which is very important, then sometimes you get a bear trap where all of the people who got stopped out here start to get kind of mad that they got stopped out on the lows. And also, you get a lot of people who, so they FOMO buy in, right? Those people that got stopped out. And then you get everybody who shorted this support break. If they didn't cover for a profit they're now in a loss. So they may have to start to cover. So you can get these like mini pops from there. So bear trap and then maybe bull flag. So if we see this congestion go on for a period of time and then we break out of that, that might be the move on tan. And if there's anyone new here, I always just like to say, I don't actually trade these ETFs. What we're doing here is we're setting up a reason, and we're setting up ideas for what it is that we are going to look to trade. And so I want to know, long story short, is I want to know what sandbox I'm playing in. Is it a trendy market? Is it a choppy market? Are there sectors of the market that are performing better than others? Which is one reason that we are, that I'm doing as well as I am this year, is simply because I was very quick to go, okay, growth stocks are getting just clobbered. So I don't want to be in them. I want to be in these value stocks, which a lot of people, I think, were long to convert, where they were used to, okay, if I, these Pelotons and Zooms and all of these are these biotech names, and all of these are making me a bunch of money, so I'm going to continue to focus on them. And then when they started to pull back, I think a lot of people just decided that they were going to continue to trade them. And I just don't think you can do that. Well, I think it's been proven that you just can't do that. You need to have kind of an idea where you're like, okay, I'm going to buy this pattern or that pattern or this pattern, and then completely forget about what it comes from, right? And that's the same thing that I'm doing here, is I'm just saying what is potentially strong, like with tan. If tan ends up being strong, then I'm going to go to whatever the strongest solar names, EVs, that type of thing, and make my opinion based off of that. And the reason I do that is I think you get a better risk reward play playing the equities as opposed to playing the ETFs. What moving average would you use for pullback? Steve Gomez represents the 10 SMA. It's up to you. There's no magic in any moving average, right? Again, it's like we were talking about with the death cross. If there was something out there that was a magical, this is the moving average that is good for pullbacks or whatever, that would get arbitraged out of the way. So I would say is test and understand your time frame. If you are a short-term trader, it makes sense to use something like the 10 SMA, which represents just 2 weeks of action. If you're a longer-term trader, then you would want a longer-term moving average, most likely. But what I will say, and I know Steve would agree with me as someone I chat with all the time, is you don't just buy arbitrarily when a stock is pulling back into a moving average. You have to then look at that and then also say, okay, This is the pattern that it occurs. Like ARCH, which Steve had a great play on right in here, he wouldn't have just bought it as a pullback to that moving average and just put an order out there and said, the 10 SMA is magical, away it goes. But when it pulled back and it started to spend a few days chopping sideways, he looked at it and said, if it breaks this little base higher, then I'm going to get involved and take that trade, right? So again, everything, even things like that, it's best to combine that with price action. So just make sure that you're just not, thinking that there's some magic moving average that's going to make you a bunch of money. So figure out what it is for you. A 10 SMA is going to get you shorter term pullbacks than a 20 SMA, which will get you longer term pullbacks, which is going to be different from a 50 SMA. I would argue that in this case, you necessarily wouldn't even need that. You could just say, right, here's a nice, I talked about this pattern even earlier in the stream, right? You've got a support zone going on here. It's supported for 5 days in a row. And it's been pulling back after being a nice strong trend. If you want to buy it when it breaks out, you buy it right here and you get the same kind of move without even needing a moving average, right? We had some Arch resources in this area and it was the same thing. I noticed that here was the initial call from Stats Edge, link in the description below, not a signal service. So just what I was trading, but 87 to 80. And it pulled back. It had some support back here that it found before, and it was putting in this sideways action. So we bought it as it broke that around 87. I would love to say that I was in it all this length of time, but I wasn't. I think I got out most of my position in this area. Ideally, I should have looked at it again, but that's just the way I think about it. There's no magic, right? So instantly, next time you just going, what's the indicator to do for this or that or the other thing, make sure you instantly in your mind say, there is no indicator that does anything, right? An indicator is simply that. It indicates. It's a guide to potentially doing something. And then from there, you have to build a trading plan around price. Because as one of my personal trading mentors always says, is only price pays. That's Brian Shannon from Alpha Trends. And what he means by that is the only thing that you can take and put in your bank account is the difference between price of what you bought and what you sold. So focus on that. Again, indicators are just, I think they're a crutch, personally. Again, it's just my, to each your own. If you have a system that uses a bunch of indicators, go right ahead. I have a few that use indicators for scanning, and then I, act on them based off of trading. The RSI Bollinger Band pullback strategy that I have, that's working very well. Right, it uses the moving averages, but then I make sure that my trading eye is the thing that actually gets me in or out. And this is crazy, right? This is my point of why it's so important to ignore everything and just focus on trend. There's so many people that have been long, not necessarily ARC, but ARC-related names, and Pelotons and Zooms and all of these things forever, right? For the entire time that this has happened. Oh, that screenshot's not good. Delete that and do it again. Had a thing in the way. Yes. And it's I just don't understand why. I still know people who are trying to catch bottoms on Spotify and Facebook and all of these things. And you will eventually, but why? Why wait, right? We've been buying, this XME breakout I was talking about right here. And with that, we have been in names And this is something that I think what has, what's the name of that? SSRM. This is a trade that I still have quite a chunk on, from 1750 up to 22. So what's the percentage gain on that? And I think a lot of people don't think about this. At 25% on my money on that trade. A lot of people don't think about opportunity cost when it comes to trading. So they'll continue to look for this thing pulling back and trying to buy it and trying to buy it. And they're not thinking that they are missing out on, not only are they losing money every time they try to dip buy, even if they're keeping that small, but the money that exists out there somewhere else that if they just focused on, they could be participating in, which is why trend is just so important. It's just so important to make sure that you're focusing on trend, and just, trend is your friend. So this is the most concerning part of the market, right? So this right here, I've had this for a while. This is the anchored view app from COVID lows. You can see it bouncing here pretty regularly. And now it's just putting in this bull flag. So if this area finally breaks, and that's about 188 on the small caps, look out below. Now, that sucks for small cap players, right? You necessarily don't have to play small caps, right? It's one of those things. Again, my main goal is just to find out what playground I'm playing in. And to be honest, when it comes to these small caps, it looks like I'm playing in an incredibly bearish playground. So I want to make sure that I know that, and I'm doing what I can, because this breakout right here, if you want the stereotypical trap, we were talking about bear traps before, this is a bull trap, is the IWM, if we look here on the weekly chart, was in this range for almost a year and a half. It broke out and it's been maybe a week or two above, and then ever since then, as soon as those guys get trapped, man, look out. And from Brian Shannon again, the mentor of mine, is from failed moves comes fast moves, is another thing that he'd always say. Again, wholeheartedly agree with. Basically just means that if the market should do something, you get all these people who believe that should means will, and they take trades based off of, oh, this thing broke out, therefore I'm just going to buy it and hold it forever. When that reverses, you get a lot of people that are stopped out or margin called or something. So the reversal move can become pretty substantial. XLE, I don't know what else to talk about when it comes to energy and commodities. Is I would just continue to buy them as they continue to break out of little consolidation patterns until the market tells you that it's time to reverse. This is something that I'm really interested in, just because there's a lot of good names setting up that I'll show you. New highs and clear skies. So this, I initially had a note there that utilities was a bit overextended, and it was just because we've been watching utilities bounce, and it got right into these prior highs, and my notes were basically just, this is, looks a bit extended. Doesn't mean it can't go through, but the odds of something that extended going through right away are pretty low. And then it pulled back, and it pulled back right to this prior high right here, and now it's bouncing again. So if this chops for any period of time and then breaks out, I think it might be time to look at some utility stocks, because this is going to be right above these 2020 highs, these pre-pandemic highs as well. And I think those are essentially all-time highs. So Utilities, for people who don't know, you're talking power plants, you're talking, oil, or power, oil power, coal power, but you're talking more about the utility providers, not so much the refineries, but the plants that actually are the end users of this. The reason that these things do well in uncertain markets is they generally pay pretty high dividends. So you're able to then go, and a lot of people will run to them when things are scary, because when it comes to utilities, you're going to use, even if the market is scary. Man, that really shows my dyslexia right there, doesn't it? Market comes bad, people will buy less iPhones, right? The market turns bad, people will buy less, invest less in new technology like Peloton and biotechs and things like this, right? They're going to spend less time and money on those things. But if the market's bad, you better believe that people are still going to have water bills and power bills, and they're still going to pay these things. So these companies, they end up actually paying pretty good dividends. So that is more the reason that people will flock to them, is because, hey, if it's the only thing that's going up and it's the only thing that I think I can put my money in, and while I weather the storm of whatever bear market they believe is coming, it will help them go, okay, I can function here, and I can put my money in here, and that causes this massive spike through the overall market. MDY, and then value breaking out. And I know I've shared this chart a bunch, but one of my favorite charts out there, I can actually do it. Let me do it right here. Is BRK.B divided by ARKK. So this is Berkshire Hathaway versus, so it's basically Warren Buffett versus Cathie Wood. So the lower this goes, it's basically Cathie beating Burke. And then the higher this goes, it's Burke beating Cathie. And you can see just the kind of dramatic difference here. So during 2019 to 2021, Cathie was absolutely on fire, and then things have reversed entirely. So the question you need to ask yourself, for the people who are still out there buying growth stocks, is, do you think that this trend will just reverse like that? If you don't, that means it's probably time to stick with something like this, because things generally don't V top and V bottom, right? They take time to digest in both directions. So I don't think if there's a big growth bounce and you're not the first one buying, that you're going to miss anything, personally. So that's mostly all for the market. So another thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to make this note. So we're 44 min in for breath. So this is a new thing that I think I'm allowed to talk about, that TrendSpider just released, that I think they're going to do videos and stuff about next week. And this is market breadth. So if you don't have TrendSpider or Trade Ideas, which we're going to go into next, are my platforms of choice. Trade Ideas is scanning, alerting, and auto trading, which I do a lot of. And TrendSpider is more my advanced charting platform, as well as crypto, which Trade Ideas doesn't have yet. It's being worked on, finally, but they're not quite there yet. Then you can check out the link in the description below. That's an affiliate link, so those, just FYI, it helps me out. TrendSpider has a 7-day free trial, so I'd click on, just go and take the trial. If you like it, great. If you don't, whatever, but it's free. But if you hit other data, and then you can kind of pick what you want, Right now I have earnings. You know, you can do Wall Street bet mentions. There's some stuff here. But they have this new market breadth. And essentially how this works is if you hit on the little, I think they call it a hamburger menu, but just this 3 dot right here, you have a few options. So first is what index do you want market breadth is. I know a lot of people won't know what that is. I'll explain it in 1 second. So you can go based off all these different sectors or industries or use the S&P 500 or whatever you like. And then you can do what has to be triggered. So above or below the 50 MA, above or below the 200 MA. You can also do all of these high and lows when it comes to these kind of things. So what is market breadth? And it's essentially just trying to show you under the market. You know, people will basically call it market internals because say, for example, the market is up, then you don't know if the market is up because a handful of names are up. You don't know if the market is up because a lot of names are up, and you don't know if the market is up for any combination of any of those things. So delving deeper into the market becomes very interesting. So you can go, you know, I want to see how many stocks are above or below the 200-day moving average, right? So you could say, I want to know how many stocks are above and below the 50-day moving average. So what I'm getting from this data is I'm essentially getting, is there any divergence? Same thing that you do with a lot of indicators when, you know, a lot of people will say, okay, if an RSI is oversold, you buy the stock, and if it's overbought, you sell the stock. It doesn't work. It's mathematically proven 1,000 times. However, when it's not doing what it should, then you can get some kind of interesting information. So for example, here, right here, and then right here, we had the market breadth moving higher, so this, or equal. So the same peak here is here, where the market was moving higher. So it essentially meant that on this run right here, you had less stocks participating. So less stocks were able to get above their 50-day moving average than they were before. So here you had what they call deteriorating breadth. At the same time, you had increasing price action. So price was moving higher and higher and higher and higher, but the average stock in the actual S&P 500 was not, right? It was not to the same degree that was happening there. They're going to add in more data. I was talking to the CEO today, actually, on Twitter. They're going to add in some more data here, which will be great. So what you're going to see me as part of my process going forward is taking a look at this. Again, I don't do anything that is not backed up by price action. However, I do think it's cool that I can now go through and look. So for example, if I'm seeing deteriorating breadth, but I'm seeing the market move higher, that doesn't mean I'm just going to exit a position because of that, because you can see that that phenomenon existed for a long period of time here. You had some great moves out of it. However, it might be something to say, okay, it's time to take this as a warning sign. It's time to understand that there might be something going on under the hood. In this case, we know what happened is the mega cap corporations, the Apples and everything in the world were kind of pulling the market up as most stocks were getting hammered. This is why a lot of people have felt like this bear market has been going on for a long period of time when it really hasn't. And that's because this market breadth indicator basically showing you that most stocks weren't participating, right? So some of the other features, again, I'm using the 50-period MA. Again, no magic to any of these MAs. It's simply comparing one or more. So I can just say, you know, for example, 14-period high. You can see that almost no stocks in the S&P 500, one would be all of them, are hitting 14-period highs for any length of time here. And if we go and we hit the 200-period moving average, and I can look at any individual industry or sector if you want, but same kind of thing we're seeing in the 200-period moving average. It'll be more interesting when more data comes through, but in this case, this was actually pushing lower at the same time price was pushing higher. So interesting to see in a healthy market, quote unquote, you would want to see a lot of stocks rising at the same time that the indices were rising, showing you that under the market, things are looking incredibly healthy, that most things are moving with the market. So I hope that makes sense. So you want to take a look at the XLF. So we'll take a look at the XLF. Yeah, XLF. Might need to refresh here. It's a new update, so it may just need a little bit of. Okay, XLF, and then we'll go other data, and let's do, again, as a shorter term trader, I just use the shorter term moving average. So we need to see the finance sector and hit apply. Oh, a lot more data there. And again, the same kind of thing. You know, if you looked at, while this was going on, as this was making new highs, you might go, okay, it's time to just tighten up stops, right? It's time to tighten up stops. Now, what's kind of interesting is you've got some kind of flat breath action going on here. And it's not making new lows at the same time that we're making new lows here. So maybe, and this is something that would just be, interesting to go and look, so I'm cutting this bit out as a video as well. So if you're watching this video a month ago, did we get a push up in the XLF, right? Have we then got that push up from there? Because if we did, that's interesting. And again, I will be interested to see how this data comes through. So impressed that I actually talked to him about survivorship bias, and he already had a plan for that. So that's going to take them some time. Survivorship bias basically means you don't want to be looking 10 years ago at market breadth using the current S&P 500 stocks, because the stocks within the S&P 500 always change, which could get me onto a rant. I don't think I need to, but it's the rant of people who think that there's such thing as passive investment. There's just not, right? Even the S&P 500 and the QQQs and the IWM and all of this thing, they cycle through quite frequently when it comes to these different things. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So any questions about market breadth? Does that make sense? Any questions about the death or golden cross? Either. Otherwise, we are going to get into stocks, and we're going to try to figure out what we can trade next week. So first, I have to clear out the watch list, clear out things that aren't interesting to me anymore. So this is the watch list as of Friday. I'm actually just going to take market breadth off because it doesn't really make sense if you're looking at individual names. So ALNY, it broke and it closed down here. So I'm gonna be pretty aggressively killing things, I think. Delete. Yeah. BBBY, delete. This is going to show the importance of SCCO is going to be interesting here. This is a copper name, so it's going to move a lot with the copper ETF. Was looking for it to break out of this downtrend line. We had another trade back here, which worked beautifully, so I just left that node in. And then if it bases here as well and works again, then that's fantastic. TNNB, that also didn't work, so we're going to get rid of that. WRB, I'm in this one, and this is a great trade, but I don't think it's a valid buy here, so we need to quit that. What a great trade, though, so far, right? I'm not out, so I shouldn't. It could gap down to 0, but a new, little bit of a new strategy that I'm going to be looking to, play. Long and short of it is just looking at stocks that are near highs, but they have been pulling back and hanging out below the anchored VWAP and then looking for them to break above that anchored VWAP. ENTA, no, I was in this one. I got stopped, so that has to go too. And this is funny. You'll actually notice, so there's, for people who are in Stats Edge Pro, they probably have noticed that there are periods of time where my watch list doesn't change very much. That's what I'm going to keep. And there's periods of time where it changes pretty aggressively. And that has a lot to do with the fact that during, I hate not bear markets, but more kind of turmoil-driven markets, you'll put a lot of things on your watch list, and then those things will take a long period of time to resolve. Right, so you'll have something on your watch list forever, and you'll just be waiting for it to kind of figure itself out. Where in more slower bullish markets, they can hang out for a long time. But in more kind of crazy bearish markets, you'll notice quite often that something will just reverse in your favor and be done like really, really quick. Right? So a lot of these names you're seeing, they look awful, but they just didn't trigger. Like VRTX is a great example of why I wait for the close. Right? It looked like it was going to break, didn't. I think I'm going to leave that one on the list. MCK, leaving that one. MDRX, that's still fine. EHC, I don't, yeah, no, that still looks okay. So the new list is something like this. So I cut the list pretty significantly. I cut 6 or 7 stocks off it, like, Best Buy. We were looking for Best Buy to come in and pull in and hold this area and bounce, and it didn't quick, so great. Right? We get to just completely wipe that off our list and move on. So now we're going to be doing some scanning. We're going to try to figure out kind of what's next in the market. And close a lot of these. There we go. Try to figure out what's going to go on next in the market. This is also a time where if you have any individual names that you want me to take a look at, I certainly can do that for you. So if you've got a stock or you got something that you want me to take a look at, and now's the time, just put that in chat. And is this gonna? No? You're not gonna do that for me? Of course you don't. Okay. Let's do this, and then we have to open up workspaces. CRS. I like it. Looks good. Right, and I know that you're interested in the cup and handle pattern. So for you, I'll just, this I kind of see, right, it's not exactly a cup. Oh, of course, we're going to be, just take that. Why not? Put that up there, and then we'll do one of those. There we go. You go away. Yeah, I picked it. That will probably only be a funny inside joke to the pro members, but I think we're getting you. I think we're getting you off of just trying to buy dead stocks, aren't we? So yeah, this is kind of a little bit of a cup and handle look. Now that pullback's a little bit deep, so you're going to have this kind of 39 area to contend with. However, you know, even if you take a break at 37 and your stop's 34, you're kind of 1-to-1 just to get to that resistance, and then through that you're gravy. So, and not something necessarily I'll trade, but I like it. I like that kind of stuff. Thoughts on TWI Momo? Let's go into trade ideas for that. Yeah, so this one's an interesting one, this TWI. This was a trade of the week on last week. There we go. It's easier to see that, I know, for you guys. Last week and this week. So I actually own some of this. And again, I just always like to say that. I just think it's not right if I don't. The trigger for it last week was above this candle's high. So I took some on Thursday, and then I got a great trade out of it on Friday. So I'm already going to be kind of defensive. I don't think I'll risk more than that. But it is an interesting chart because between us, because we're all buds here, and I guess if you're a Trade Ideas subscriber, you have access to this already. If not, then you should. Essentially, within Trade Ideas, I built a algorithm that uses relative strength. So the concept of relative strength is simply that if you always buy the best stocks, then you'll always own the best stocks. And, you know, I always say that there's people who want to root for an underdog. They want to buy stocks that are getting hammered. You know, I think it's the buy low, sell high. And I think there's a lot of psychological things that are going on there. But to buy the strongest names is going to make your life way easier because they're the strongest names. And we know trends persist longer than they should if the market was random. So rant over. So this algorithm just looks for whatever the strongest names in the market is, and it refreshes every 10 seconds. But we have a product that we sell with Trade Ideas. Again, link in the description below for Trade Ideas and TrendSpider. Try to figure them out there. But what I've done is I've back tested this relative strength algorithm for 5 years. It outperformed the market each and every year. It's more of an investment thing. You're not going to like double your money on it. And the actual email that goes out every single week is $17 a month. So again, links in the description below if you want to try that. If you have the full version, you not only get the 5 symbols that happen each week, but you get a scan that refreshes every 10 seconds that has the strongest names in them. And to be honest, a lot of my trading comes from this system. So yeah, the entry was right here last week, and the entry this week, because this is kind of this between us stuff, is the same ticker made it back on the TI Strength Alert this week. And if you're a Trade Ideas member, I can show you. You can go right into, I'm not going to show everything here, all 5 symbols, because I don't think that'd be fair. If you go into your channel bar and you click on Strength Alerts, you'll find out what the top few names are right here. So you can check that out. But yeah, it made it this week as well. So the new alert would be above 14. So to me, this looks a little bit overextended from 11 to 14 in a few days. Perfect world is we get kind of a pullback and maybe a move sideways for a few days and then a push up. Now, I will say again, I'm already invested in it. I don't think I would buy another lot as things push up unless we get the scenario where we chop sideways for a bit and then we push. Maybe I'll buy another lot and raise my stop up because now I can have more of it and risk less. However, I do like the look of it. It's obviously a strong name. And again, the algorithm, I don't pick the stocks from the TI Strength algorithm. It does. And it outperforms the market year over year. So I would say that I like this one. But again, just know, to me, that's a little bit extended. So ideally, I see a pullback or I see a few days of rest before things kind of push off from there. So I'm just going to be scanning. Again, at any time, if people got tickers to look at, let me know. But I've got just a couple lists that I'll go through, and with those lists, I'll try to figure out what I like the most about kind of what's going on in the market currently. And then I will put together the Stats Edge Pro membership where you will have all of these charts that I put together, and then that symbol list of anything that's new going on will all happen there. Man, so far. So the question is, how much per month? What are you offering that you aren't offering here? So essentially, it is the output of what I do here, but as opposed to once a week, it's every day. So every day I put together a blog post that has all of these charts wrapped up in them, and they're updated daily, along with the watch list that I put out that's updated daily. Now, it's not a signal service, and I don't believe in those, right? So if you're looking for someone to say, buy this stock here and sell it here, that's going to get you in trouble at some point. So I'll never do that. The point of it is, A, to get a second opinion on my thoughts on the market, and the other is you can see the stocks that I'm picking. If they jive with your trading plan, feel free. But it's more kind of a look over my shoulder. So again, the output of this every day as opposed to once a week, right? So this is kind of a preview, and you don't need to sit here with me for 2 hours every day. It's just a nice kind of written up blog post. I can show you here that just has all of the output of all of these charts, right? So you can see these are the ones that I put for Friday. Also, we have a Discord room. Again, it's not something I'm going to hang out in every day. It's nothing like that, but you can go and chat. We chat about stuff. We've got a once a month live Q&A with just members where I'll answer any questions that members have live, regardless of how long they take to answer or how complicated they are. I also share in those any algorithms I'm working on for more of a kind of snapshot into how I work on algorithms and the ideas that I come up with and that type of thing. You also get access to all of my scans that I do, that I use for these things. More and more of them are getting into the Market Explorer within Trade Ideas, I'll be perfectly honest, but any scans or algorithms I come out with will be part of that as well. And that's $50 a month. So it's less than $2 a day and should be a tax write-off for any traders that are currently or planning to be profitable. It's kind of the sales pitch there. His picks suck. Oh, okay. All right there. I know you're joking. But I like that. The education on the process and the routine and the community is the value. And that's what I want it to be, right? I don't want it to be look at what I do and blah, 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 because, I trade and I do okay trading and I can feed myself from trading. But I also trade differently than a lot of other people will. So the point I'm trying to go for is for people who are trying to build their own process and build their own ideas when it comes to trading can see what I do every single day. So again, that's why the blog post is up there every single day, because it's what I would do anyway, right? Regardless. Some kind words from Pamela. It's having a mentor. Again, that's more or less what I want, right? Again, the people who are like, tell me what to trade. That's like, the way I look at it is that's someone who wants to be a surgeon for a living, and they're saying, walk me through performing this surgery. It's like, I kind of could, and the outcome might be good. But wouldn't it be way better if you learned how to do surgery and then you did it yourself in your own way with your own style and your own passion, right? So the reason I always say not a signal service, I think some people think it's like a cover my ass legal thing, but it's just literally I don't believe in them, and I don't want the people who want to just come in and get picks. What I want is I want people who want to, again, a second opinion on my thoughts on the market. Maybe they like some of the watch lists I put together, like some of these things. Like maybe you like the look of SCCO. If it can break out here, that's great. Then take the trade. But it's your trade kind of thing. But what I want is I want more people to say, oh, I understand why he's focused on relative strength, because even though all of these growth stocks are getting hammered, he's still making money. I want to see, oh, look, he does this same process every day with these same, he looks at crypto and then he looks at FX and then he looks at this thing and this is his process. Might not necessarily be my process in the future, but it's his process. And then the Q&A webinars, I talked about a strategy that I'm creating, or I created, and I'm now trading, that has to do with anchored VWAP, RSI with Bollinger Bands on it, looking for strong stocks pulling back. And I walked through my thought process of how I came up with the idea, how I chose the indicators to scan for it, how I tested all of the processes of it, and now here are the trades from it. So, my thought process throughout the whole. And then the Discord room for if you just want to ask a question. If you're just, typing along, you go, hey, what do you think of this stock? Or what do you think of this? Or what do you think of that? I'm there for that kind of thing, right? And the extra salt is free. Yeah, I'm honest. And if I think you're doing something that's going to be harmful and you're talking about it, I'll definitely tell you. I try to do it nicely, but I'm probably not that too good. If you have your own plan and style, many picks, while good, will not meet your plan, therefore suck. Well, yeah, it's like, again, some people just won't like what I trade, and that's fine. I hope those people stay for a period of time to get my process and they say thank you and move on. Again, it's less than $2 a day, and there's no, you have to buy a year or anything like that. You buy a month, and if you don't like it, you don't buy the next month kind of thing. My hope is eventually to get not an insane amount, but it'd be nice to get 100 people or so. And full disclosure, there's about 40 or so now. If I get 100, 200 people in there, I'd probably close it, to be honest. I'd say that's enough. And have people exchanging ideas and have people learning and have people doing this, as opposed to, 1,000 people and everyone's getting all mucked up and bumped into each other. So sorry. And all that, there was someone who asked for LAC. He said it has earnings soon. I show earnings. Yeah, I show earnings at a different time. So you might want to double check. My stuff could be wrong. Oh, no. Okay, so this shows earnings tomorrow. I just, again, nice looking chart, nice looking pullback on this one. I just cannot and will not bring myself to buy something into earnings. It's a complete and utter crapshoot. You have no idea what the CEO will say or what people will think of it. I think it's just a, you're going crazy with it, right? I think you're going too far. I love the cap. Yeah, I just don't think, I just couldn't see, it would almost be like a full-time job then, I think, managing like 1,000 people. So, you guys can run the numbers. So it's $50 a month. If I get 200 people in there, that's a nice little side hustle, right? Which for me, it's all, I have trading, I have my consulting, I have YouTube, I have all of these different types of sources. So I don't think I would ever, now 50,000 a month sounds nice, But A, I don't think we would ever get there. My community is just too small. But B, I just don't think I would like that. The reason I trade is I don't want to be tied to anything. So that's why it actually took me so long to put this together, because I didn't like the idea of being tied to it. So question on First Solar. I like the look of this. It's in a pretty dramatic downtrend, though. What I will say is we talked a bit about Tan earlier that put in this bear trap down here, and now it's pushing up higher from there. So if Tan continues, First Solar looks nice. You're picking stocks in downtrends, though, and I think that's harder than anything. Will I be going to the FinTwit conference in May? Well, we shall see, Brett, because as you know, I've got a baby on the way literally any minute now. Ideally, by then, I will be allowed to go places and do things like that. Ideally. There's like the CMT convention at the end of April. That's already been... the kibosh has already been put on that. I was thinking of going to that, but brought that up and it did not end well for me. So, but depending on when it is in May, I think is the big thing. You know, I want to make sure this is our first baby too, right? So we got no idea what we're getting into here. So I want to be able to make sure that, you know, everything's settled and you know, that my help isn't 100% needed. And then I'll start to kind of travel around a bit, making the trips as short as possible, because I will want to, obviously want to be there as much as I can. But I don't see anything wrong with going somewhere for a weekend kind of thing. Man, I am not seeing a whole lot from these scans, which is fine. I will not force it if I don't see things from the scans. I just won't. It's not what I do. Sketched up on the live stream. Will trade ideas add crypto brokers as well as crypto? At some point, yeah. They're not to be semantics man, but they're not crypto brokers. They're exchanges. So we will be connecting to some exchanges when it comes to trading crypto. We will for sure. Step one is to get me the data. The data will be in the Market Explorer, right? We're not going to put it in the traditional trade ideas system. It's just way too much, right? It's just way too much. Right, so just FYI. But what you'll get is crypto stocks or crypto coins breaking out. You'll get all of these kind of strategies, RSI divergences. I'm going to almost immediately try the TI Strength Alerts algorithm within crypto and just try to see how that works. Because if that works in crypto, then I'll just immediately put, you know, a pretty substantial amount of money into TI Strength when it comes to crypto as well, right? TI Strength when it comes to stocks, I love. So TI Strength when it comes to crypto, if it works, I will probably also love. So that's one thing to keep in mind. This ARCH or ACRS. Wow, my brain's lagging right now. I like the look of this one. Look at the weekly chart. It's a big push up, and it's just been kind of pulling back for a while here. And now on the daily chart, I'll draw this out here. ACRS. And you've got this nice little bull flag look going on here. And right, this prior resistance right here is kind of acting as support right here. So that's one thing I really like about that as well. And then look at all the bottoming tails in through here. So you got a bottom 1, 2, 3 in a row. So every time it gets to this kind of 1550 area, there's a buyer coming in. So I'm going to say, like, I don't know, 16 and 15 just to make the numbers easier. So watch, stop, 15. Here we go, the website. 16. So fairly slow mover, but it seems like everything that's showing some good profits right now is a pretty slow mover. So I'm going to keep going from there. AMPL. Yeah, it's good looking for a REIT. I don't like that topping tail yesterday though. NUE I was actually watching. It met that. I think it did. No, it was just barely. That strategy that I was talking about in the last meeting, just barely. I think that's the scan that actually came from, which is one that we'll look at. Both those look okay. They don't like slap me in the face. And just so if there's anyone who just shows up here weekly and takes a look at my watch list and then goes from there, just note that most of these things, I don't think I will be trading. They just don't think they will. ATSG is pretty perfect, isn't it? Yeah. So what, 32.30? Stop 30. Just a very, very typical bear flag or bull flag. And one thing I like so this is the scan to be looking at. I can tell when I put in 2 A's that this is probably why is that not picking up? That's weird. Just the Google API isn't picking it up. But I really like when this kind of move starts from earnings, right? I don't need to read earnings, but anytime you see this yellow line, it's essentially this is the day that earnings happen. So whatever they said for earnings, everybody loved, and then we just put in a bull flag. So it's trading a news catalyst, but again, like I always talk about, you don't need to know the news catalyst. It's just going to make your life harder. So, right, they said something good, stock rocketed, and now it's chopping sideways. So if we continue, maybe we'll get a push from there. Pizza. It's Papa John's, right? PZZA. I don't think we have that up there. I think I've asked before, and it's kind of looking... yeah, that's a awful looking... For short, maybe. A little bear flag going here, and just a pretty substantial downtrend. BHR looks good, but that just doesn't move. So this, if you're a Trade Ideas sub and you don't know about this, if you go to your title bar and you click on New and then Market Explorer window, you'll get a box that looks like this. If you right-click inside under Server window, you've got all these scans. And these are all really advanced scans that we can't even do with inside the regular Trade Ideas. So the one I'm looking at now is just called Bull Flag. And it is just that. Everything that you'll see here is in some respects has some sort of ignition and then sideways consolidation, or a bull flag is as best as computer pattern recognition can do, right? DVN, push up, and now it's chopping sideways. And this seems to be the move today. That other scan that I was looking at that was a pullback just didn't do anything at all. TPF. Yeah. ProShares 20-year treasury. So you're just playing the T-bonds at that point. So I don't think you're going to get much alpha out of that. So that's just a bet on rates, just FYI. That's what that is. I'm sure you know, but in case you didn't. Which next week, I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but next week is the heavily sought after interest rate decisions happening next week. And like the whole like nerd world is talking about this interest rate decision, because this is the one where the debate is happening. Is he going to raise 50 basis points or this week, as in, depends when I start my week on Monday. I know that's not legitimate, but who cares? Wednesday. Yeah, so Monday, Tuesday might actually be pretty boring, guys. So I'm actually going to I'm just making a note here. When Fed, just because on top of the charts that I share, I try not to make it long because I know I would want to read it that much, but get out of here, Windows. Go away. I always do like a couple sentences, nice and quick, about what I think of the markets, and that's probably going to be my synopsis. Is that right? LGF. Telling you guys, dyslexia is no fun when your job is three-letter combinations over and over again. So 1466 and 13. Okay, so I'm just going to go. So I like the look of this Lionsgate. That's they're like a show producer, right? Or a movie producer, aren't they? Things I don't pay attention to for a million. Yeah, television program, syndication, home entertainment, digital. So they're movies, movie TV. I just like, right, you had a double bottom here. You look at the weekly chart. The reason I'm playing with this as a line chart is because for the weekly chart, I just want to see, it's a way to zoom out on the daily chart, right? So nice big, from 2020 on, we've had a nice little uptrend. It's been just consolidation. And then on the daily chart, you've got it like this double bottom at 12, push up, and then just this nice consolidation here. So if that continues, maybe we take a shot up here at 17. It would be interesting. I think it was RS someone was looking at. Oh, that's an interesting one. Steel and aluminum. That was Mike. I like that. So this is one thing. I actually got a comment of someone emailed me after, and they said, quite often you'll say you like something and then you just stare at the screen for a while. What are you looking at? And I like comments like that, right? It means people are trying to learn as opposed to whatever is, instead of just looking at the stocks. And the reason I do that is I'm always trying to, I get the initial reaction from what I see on the screen. It's a bull flag, right? The weekly chart is incredibly strong. That's not good. That did that. Oh, that's back. So yeah, the weekly chart is incredibly strong. The daily chart is nice and strong. And it's just putting in this bull flag, right? It's the easiest pattern to trade. It's just the bull flag. Look for continuation on strong stocks. But then what I try to do is I'm trying to disprove. I'm trying to say, make up or come up with a reason why I shouldn't buy it. And my theory is if I can't figure that out, that I shouldn't buy it because I don't know if I'm going to buy it. If it doesn't break and hold over 190, I'm not interested in it. But yeah, my rationale for why I would do it is I take a look and I go, what is my reason kind of maybe for this? And I just look at it. So 61 million shares in the float's kind of low float, which is interesting, right? I know earnings coming up soon. There's really nothing I can see in its way. So I'm just going through here and I'm going for this one as well. And I don't see any reasons why I don't like it. So that's what I'm doing when I'm kind of blankly staring at it for a while. So I'm trying to say, well, what would be a rationale for not being interested in this if it breaks up? And I couldn't find one. It's steel and aluminum, and we know these things are doing incredibly well in this market. If everyone who had been trying to bottom fish like Peloton and all of these growth names just gave up and bought something that was physical a long time ago, they would be much happier. So I'm going to go 190, 180 on this, I think is the... So I like that one. I'm stealing that one from you, Mike. How does it compare to CMC? See, I like RS better just because it has more of a base to deal with, and this has earnings very soon. So same industry, but I just think there's more potential on a breakout on that. Does Trade Ideas have a better bull flag than the other program you're using? Oh, then TrendSpider? Yeah, so the difference between them is Trade Ideas, its bread and butter is scanning, and its bread and butter is also, well, for me anyway, it is order entry. I do all of my order entry through Brokerage Plus here. I also have some automated trading that I do where I will take a trade or I will develop a system and I'll have the system trade it for me. Eventually, I'm going to work out a way to have it auto trade this list that I'm building because I'm lazy and I want to do as little pressing the keys in order to make trades as humanly possible. And I want to spend the rest of the time thinking of new ideas and reading articles and this type of thing. So that's where scanning and trading Trade Ideas really shines. TrendSpider has some scanning and it's okay. There's some drawbacks with it, but TrendSpider's primary thing is charting. So I like TrendSpider better when it comes to, the annotation of the charts and the moving around and the fact that I can open up on my Mac and just take a look at the names. So, they're different things. So if you're looking for a scanner, then I would say Trade Ideas is your ticket. If you're looking for advanced charting, then I would say this is your ticket. So all of these, basically everything I've added to the list today, every single symbol has come from this bull flag scan that I've been, and MATX is going to be one of them as well. MATX. Oh, duh. It's already on the list. Well, that's a good thing, right? That I looked at that and said, oh, that's a really good chart. I should add it to the list. And it's already on the list. I think I may actually own some of this. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, it's Sunday. So yeah, that's the way I would do it. So basically every stock I found so far today has been from this one scan in Trade Ideas. Now, again, I'm biased because I built this, but I really, really like it because it's very flexible based off time frame. It's not looking for a very rigid set of things. So you get a lot of symbols that all have something to do with a bull flag, and then you can use your eye to filter them down. And it took me a long time to kind of build this. So this SIGI is interesting. I think did I have it on the list and I removed it because of this maybe? It's just so choppy. Yeah, so what I have, watch 85, stop 82. So it never triggered. It's right at the high end of this range. I think I'm going to put this back on. Yeah. So I think we only have room for one more. I cap my watch list at 15 symbols. I could go to 20 or so. Again, it's just one of those things that I just don't want to, because I do all of my order entry and all of my order exit at the same time. Man, that one looks good as well. I really like the scan. Again, link in the description below if you're interested in trade ideas. It helps out the channel, right? They essentially pay me a commission. I've got no qualms about saying that at all. And hell, if you've got any kind of following and you like trade ideas and you want to pitch it out as well, then hit me up. I can make you an affiliate, and then I also make money. Again, I don't there's no sense in my mind hiding any of that, right? I use it because I like it, and then I sell it because I like money. So because trading is boring, we need to have hobbies in life, because trading is job, not entertainment. Exactly. I always like nuggets coming from you, man. But that's right. It's, that's one of the reasons I automate my trading so much, because this part of trading I really like. I like building the scans. I like building the algorithm. I like scanning for the stocks. I like figuring out, okay, I like this. I'm going to trade this. I'm going to do this. The actual act of trading, the actual hitting of the buttons, I think is what most people end up doing their most amount of time on. And that is, in my mind, insanely problematic. Just because they're focused on the wrong thing. They're focused on hitting the buttons and making money, and they're not focused on the process of the scanning and the algorithm building and all of these type of things, right? So if you don't like this part of it, then I think you got problems. And my point is, I just want to automate away the rest of it. So I have automated trading strategies that are intraday trading strategies. And then I also am always trying to figure out, I've done some of it in the past. I kind of like the granular control a little bit better, but I'm not abandoning it, where you can feed trade ideas a list and say, if this thing happens to this list, then buy it. So what I may start trying to do is saying, in the last 15 minutes of the day, if it's holding above XYZ, then take the trade. I just have to build something for that. But, again, it also takes the emotion out of it, right? I pick the symbols and the robot does all the rest of it, right? So I can focus entirely on recording the trades, figuring out what worked, did more of that, figuring out what doesn't work and doing less of that. And I think this Vivo is going to be the last one here. I kind of like the look of this. Is there anything that I'm going to see in TrendSpider that's going to tell me not to? No, it's got 30 are these highs up here. Something happened to move it from $5 to $25, which was substantial. And again, it might be hard to see on stream, but this orange dotted line, which is the same as, oh, it's not here. That's interesting. This is the last earnings on February 4th. So on February 4th, something happened. It had earnings. And then, right, ever since then, we've been putting in this nice bull flag here. So I think if this one gets to, say 26, and then you could stop it at 24. Oh, come on, Mike. Should have had a coffee before I did this. I've been using the bull flag scan for a while as well, seeing a lot of rounded bottoms in it lately. That's why I left the bull flag scan that loose, is because so the way I made it is I basically asked the system for stocks that were up in a short period of time, and the way I finally found the consolidation of the bull flag as the easiest way to do it was basically said I want the Bollinger Bands as tight as they have been in the last like 3 months. So it's just getting very, very tight, and that makes that consolidation a lot. And then you can do it in kind of whatever. So in theory, you could say, for example, and I don't know if it'd be perfect, but you could say this is kind of a cup, and that's kind of a handle right there. So again, it's looking at the short-term pattern, and then that's why I generally try to keep a weekly chart near me, just to see where it's existing in the long-term process kind of thing. In stocks, trading automation of lists is the best stocks to trade. I think so. And that's how I do that's my intraday trading strategies, which I don't really talk about because they have liquidity problems if I let everyone knew exactly what I was doing. But it's that concept of I'm going to pick a handful of stocks each night that I think have the potential to go tomorrow for some degree, whether it's a pullback and I think they may bounce if XYZ occurs, or it's a breakout and I think they may continue if XYZ occurs. I make the list and then I feed it into trade ideas, where I can say in trade ideas, for example, say there was a stock that was down. Let's actually do this. I set up this scene and I was looking for an excuse to use it today. So we're going to use it. This is my iPad. Right? So let's say, for example, there was a stock that was, down like 10 days in a row like that. I could then add that to a list within trade ideas, and I could say, hey, if it starts to go green tomorrow, I could say, as specifically, if the stock gaps down and then goes green, I want you to buy it. I want you to put the stop at the low of the day, and I want you to target 2 times that risk. And I can feed it the list to make sure that everything in the scan or everything in the algorithm is something that I'm interested in some way. It meets my parameters of what I want to see, but I don't need to watch it intraday. I don't need to watch 1,000 charts and say, okay, I need to enter this one here, and then I need to mentally calculate the risk per trade, and then I need to do this, and then I need to do that, right? I can cut that out entirely, and I can do stuff like, so for example, if within trade ideas, if you liked Vivo, this Vivo stock, if you were like, okay, I like this, I basically just want the system to buy it if it breaks yesterday's high. You can just do that. You can just feed it into a list, connect it to your Interactive Brokers or E-Trade account. Say, if this breaks yesterday's high, I want you to buy it. I want you to risk 2 ATR on the trade, and then I'll look at it later. And this would be a way that I would think if somebody was trading and had a job, or, I don't even know how to say your name. You're going to have to give me your real name at some point. But this comment earlier, because trading is boring, you just want to go do other stuff. Then you do the work and you say, this is a stock that I like. Now I'm going to go do other stuff. And you, as in the system, watch my watch list. If it pushes, then great, buy it. If, it gaps down and sells off tomorrow, I don't want it, so I'm not interested. So that's a lot of, when I say automated trading, that's like 99% of my automated trading is me coming up with lists, checking them by eye, feed them in the system, say if XYZ occurs, then do this. And you know, it works. It doesn't print money every day. It's not, you know, I'm not gonna show off my Lambo or anything like that. But for the amount of time I put in and the amount of money that it makes, I'm certainly happy with it, kind of thing. So that's the way I do it. So we got our list together. It's a pretty good looking list. Again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Stats Edge Pro. So if you're interested, I can just do a quick walk around. This is what the blog posts look like each night, which is just my thought on crypto, which we went over, and Forex, and all of these things, all of the stocks and why I'm interested in them. Away it goes. Also, just walk you around. I don't think it shows anything that it shouldn't if I just go into the Squarespace thing, right? Oop, pages, main page. Right, and then so that's nightly analysis and watch list, access to my scan, members chat, which is just a Discord room that, again, not a Signal service. I'm not even there all day, but it's a lot of cool people there, and we keep it to trading. There's no crap going on there, which I like. Just another reason why I'd probably keep it small. Member Q&A webinar. So we do that where it's, you know, some of them have been like 3 hours. So if you're interested in there, links in the description below. Other things that you can just check out on my website is, let's go to the main page, my trading tools. So this is where the link will actually take you directly. So here's for Tradies and TrendSpider, Trader Sync, which I've got a plan to do something with soon. I just need to find the time. My blog, I don't blog very much. I'm obviously not a writer with the kind of crippling dyslexia, but I like just doing random statistics about things. So you'll see a lot of that. You'll see a lot of that there. And if you're interested, I have a free trading course. So this is 100% free. You don't need any. There's no sign up with a credit card. There's no. This page is taking forever to load. Here we go. Yeah, there's no sign up with a credit card or put in a username or whatever. This is all on my YouTube as well, where it's 39 lessons. I sat down with my wife during quarantine, the first big one, and we did 39 lessons of starting with what is a stock and then ending with, you know, algorithmic AI trading strategy. Like, it goes pretty deep. And it just starts with what is a stock. So if you're interested, you can check that out there. And all 39 lessons are here. And again, this is not, you don't need to do, it's just on YouTube. So you don't need to do anything or put in anything. So that's there as a free resource as well as the blog for people. So. Do you have to be a premium member of Trade Ideas to set up the auto trading of your stock list? Yeah. You'll need to have auto trading capabilities, which is in the premium side of things. Now, you can set up within Trade Ideas, you can go and you can set up like scripts. So for example, you know, if you liked this and you just wanted to right click and say, okay, I'm connected there, right? Wait, again, this is a demo kind of thing. Okay, so yeah, so you could, for example, click and say, I want to buy this one. Click initiate buy, and then right here, so I can just click and I can set it up like that with the standard membership. And what it will do, it won't right now because the market's closed, but it would put out a buy order above here, and then I've already set it up so it would put a stop order down here, and then it would risk, you know, whatever you want to risk. $100, $500, whatever your account size is. So you can do that, but to have it just completely work without you, then you need the premium membership for that. So, okay, guys, so Stats Edge Pro members, just give me a little bit. I'll ping in the Discord room when I put all of this together in tonight's blog post. Everyone else, thank you for coming out. If you could do me a favor on the way out and just click the like button, I appreciate that. I guess, again, YouTube yells at me all the time for it. So The more likes, the more they recommend this stuff. Trade safe next week. All right, remember FOMC on Wednesday. So everything up until Wednesday might be a choppy mess. And then Wednesday might be, okay, this is when, we won't get the war out of the way as a concern, but we understand what the Fed interest rates are. We could go from there as well. So, all right, guys, I will talk to you soon.